Hello YouTube. Welcome to the first video of my channel. I believe I'm calling this Aiden's bookshelf. I don't know. I'm not really a name kind of guy. My name's Aiden, if that wasn't obvious from the channel name. And on this channel, I kind of wanted to do casual reviews of books I read. I've really gotten into reading novels like for 2.5 years. I'm a bit like movies and TV guy, but eventually I just felt burnt out, and I'm like, you know what? I used to read. I used to read in high school. Let's pick that up again. And yeah, I've been loving it. I've been dabbling in a lot of audiobooks. They're just like so convenient, especially like for morning walks or at work. And on the side, I like to have like a lighter novel, like an easier to digest novel, like on my phone when I only have like a couple minutes, usually at work. And then when it's actually busy, um, stuff like pulp fantasy or Japanese light novels, which is what we're about to talk about. So for this episode, or whatever, this video, I'm gonna be discussing the first 3 volumes of Slayers by sorry, I don't know his name by heart, Hajime Tanizaka. Published in 1991, so it's old. If you don't know what a Japanese light novel is, it's basically, again, it's self-descriptive. It is a lighter novel that focuses more on dialogue than detail. They're usually pretty short, pretty easy to digest. I had a big anime phase in high school, not so much anymore. But I still dabble in, the occasional manga or visual novel. But I've never touched light novels, even in my, even when I was super into anime. Probably because I wasn't really into books. So I was like, I don't want to read a book. I can just, read a manga if I really wanted to. So, if I really wanted to read. So I've never gotten into them. So I was kind of excited, going into some of these. And I read a couple before these, just like inching into the series. I read a really bad translation, fan translation of Fate Zero, which was horrible. I don't know if there was, if I just chose a really bad version, there might be a better translated version. But I love Fate Zero, so even though it was horrible to read, I understood the story fully and I actually enjoyed it. But I would never recommend that to like anyone unless they really like Fate Zero. I listened to 2 audiobooks of Konosuba, and I read one very recently. I read the first volume of Sword Art Online. But I gotta say, Slayers I think was like much better than all 3 of those. Again, I've only read 3. I'm in the middle of reading the 4th one, and I know I just literally said like, um, you know, I have audiobooks and I read lighter novels on my phone, but I did actually listen to the 3 volumes of Slayers on audiobook, mainly because I just did this phone system. Like I created it pretty recently. So, so yeah, we are gonna be talking about the 3 audiobooks of Slayers. There is only 3. They've been super slow on release, which sucks because I really love the audiobooks. It is presented by the English dub voice actor of Lena, the main character of Slayers, and she does a fantastic job. Obviously, since it is her job to voice act for anime characters, she has like a great range of emotion, and it was a blast. And I wish they would release more. I was honestly like debating, like, should I even continue this series in paper or just wait for the audiobooks to come out? But since it's so slow, I think they released like three volumes in 3 or 4 years, compared to like a lot of other series that get like 2 to 3 audiobook releases. I guess they're just more popular. I don't know. It's kind of crazy since this is so good, but whatever. I just bit the bullet. I'm like, you know what? If I'm gonna read something like light, I might as well read something that I know that I'm gonna enjoy, which was Slayers. So let's get into this. Also, I guess to note, well, yeah, audiobook. I think the audiobook was great. The only negative, I guess, is that in light novels, there's an occasional picture or two. Again, it's text. It is an actual novel. It is written text, but within a chapter, there's usually like a full page with an image or two images per chapter. And obviously, you don't get that in the audiobook. It's not the biggest deal, um, but maybe for some people it matters because I guess you're technically only consuming 90% of the content. You're missing out on the pictures. But I still think, again, just the performances were great um, for the audiobook. And you know, so I'm reading volume 4. Like I'm almost done volume 4, so that might be like on an episode very shortly after this one. And the pictures are good. The pictures are good. They're very charming. Much more. I think they're better than Sword Art Online's pictures, to be honest. Just from my limited pool of light novel experience. So going into Slayers, I'm just gonna like generally talk about these first 3 volumes. I'm not gonna dive too deep into it, and then for the future volume reviews, I probably will, since I'll be talking about single volumes. But just because they're all 3, I'm just kind of bundling them up. Slayers is a fantasy adventure series focusing on Lena Inverse, a 15-year-old mage, very talented mage, and her companion Dowry, a masterclass swordsman. Both very strong characters. The thing about light novels and web novels, which are kind of adjacent to light novels, usually like they get compared, kind of in the same wheelhouse of lighter reading. The meta, the most popular types of stories in those are isekais, which are people getting reincarnated to a different world, usually fantasy, kind of similar to like Porto fantasy for normal literature readers, and overpowered protagonists. And I've talked to a lot of people about this. I actually do not usually enjoy both of those, especially overpowered protagonists. Usually they're done pretty boring. I think they can be done good, but usually it just turns into a power fantasy, and I'm not a big power fantasy guy. I like conflict, I like struggle. For power fantasies, the main characters usually don't struggle, at least in like combat. I think Slayers did overpowered right. Again, Lena, definitely one of the strongest mages in the verse so far. Again, only 3.5 novels deep, but she is super talented. But 2 points, she's not the strongest, so there is actually some struggle, which I like. Which sounds obvious, but again, if you've just browsed the category, like the catalog of light novels, there's just so much sloppy power fantasy, and you know, if you like that, all the better to you. I'm just saying it's not really in my preference. But yeah, Lena actually struggles in battle despite her talent. And 2, a lot that hinders her is her actual character flaws. So again, she's super talented, she's super adept at magic, she has a wide variety, and she's able to modify it and you know, change the spell structure to add her own little spice to it, which usually surprises her opponents because they usually just use the standard incantations. And but she is obviously very cocky because she's a little teenager. Of course you're gonna be cocky as a teenager and being super talented. And she often underestimates her opponents or overestimates her ability or understanding of the situation, which gets her into a lot of trouble. And Dowry, again, masterclass swordsman, he's kind of an airhead. I forgot the word for like hot guy, but he's kind of that archetype where he's honestly he hasn't really struggled in a fight unless it's something not human. And he's super cool. I actually really like Dowry, but yeah, sometimes his inability to notice things really again hinders him. So I feel like that's a great way to do overpowered characters, and I wish there was a little more of that in light novels. But again, I'm pretty much a light novel virgin. That sounds so weird to say. I'm unexperienced in light novels, so I'm sure there are more that probably fit my tastes. But yeah, I really like them. I really like the the characters, I think there's a lot of it just follow like despite being in trouble a lot, Lena usually has a pretty positive outlook on the situation. She's just such a fun main character to follow. Just has a lot of life to her. While from a lot well, from I'm just gonna compare it to Sword Art Online since that's the most recent thing I've read. Um Kirito, on the other hand, and I feel like a lot of other light novels do this, make sort of a more plain main character just so the reader can kind of self-insert themselves into it, which kind of leads more to the power fantasy thing. I don't like that. I don't need to self-insert. I can relate when I can relate to some characters, but I'd rather have a very more fleshed out and fun character than a plain one that just lets me imagine myself in their position. I don't wanna. I just wanna, experience a good story. So about the story structure itself, and this is kind of an additive, despite being only 3 volumes in there, it does have like a pretty repetitive structure of Lena and Dowry accidentally get involved in a big, high stakes quest where whether they do have to help or there can be some pretty big consequences, some fights here and there. Then a big twist at the end where, the person who we thought was the main antagonist wasn't the main antagonist and turns out to be like a demon or something. And then they have a really epic fight. That's basically what happened in the first 3 volumes. Which is, again, it's a little repetitive, but even if it is repetitive, it's good repetitive because I enjoyed it. I enjoy, like, if it was repetitive and boring, then obviously it's a bad thing, but they execute it well. Especially on the twist part. I thought like volume 2, aka that was Sorcerers of Atlas, I think. I have it open. The Sorcerer of Atlas. I thought that was the most predictable and where the story was going, but for volume 1, the Ruby Eye, and volume 3, Ghost of Cyrag, I'm not gonna lie, I was not seeing the twist coming, especially for the Ghost of Cyrag. They hit you with a big twist, I'm like, what, really? And then like 10 minutes later they hit you with another twist and I'm like, what the fuck is happening? So like, even if you keep it repetitive but you still somehow surprise your reader, like you keep the same structure but keep the plot interesting, I think it's fine if you want to go that route. But despite the plot, again, the main draw to me, again, is the characters. I already talked about Lena and Dowry, but they have a pretty fun cast of side characters that do reappear in throughout the series. Like, there's a guy named Lance who was in volume 2 and 3. But I really enjoy it. In 2, like, he's a decently skilled swordsman, but obviously since we're following really skilled ones, he seems a little lackluster. So he's kind of just like a goofy character. But in number 3, he clutches up. He has a really fun moment, and I was like, oh, I'm proud of it. I'm proud of this Lance guy, man. I'm proud of him. There's also Zolf, who was only in volume 1. And he was a minor antagonist. I really liked him. I thought he was a funny dude. He started off as kind of mysterious and cool, but when you got to know him, he's like, oh, this guy is dorky. He's dorky, but I love him. The fish people in volume 1 and volume 3, which are like kind of like the Family Guy fishes, where it's like fish head, humanoid body, and they're just so goofy. I love it. It's a very funny manga. Light novel. Oops, weird slip up. Very funny light novel, and obviously comedy is very subjective, so but if it clicks, man, and I love it. And then like more actual like main character, like Zaldif. It's been a while. Shit. The Chimera Man, very cool. The Priestess, who is in volume 3 and 4. Selfie, I think. I like her. I need some more of her though. I need some more. But yeah, it just has a fun cast of characters that sometimes they appear, sometimes they don't reappear because people die a lot. This is actually a lot of characters can just suddenly die. It is surprisingly gory. Like I thought it was kind of chill, and then in the first volume when they were fighting trolls who regenerate, and then Lena casts a D regen on them, and Darius just like shoots, I believe it was like seeds or something that created small holes, and because of the degen spell, instead of regenning, the holes just got larger and larger, and their insides fell out. I'm like, what the fuck, dude? I thought it was chill, but it is surprisingly gory, which I like. I like that little tasteful gore. It's kind of funny when you're just, you're just vibing and then somebody just dies like a really horrible death. Which do happen to some of the characters I like. But yeah, I like that mature aspect. And the villains, obviously you have to have good villains. Rezo, both normal and homunculus version was pretty fun. Um, and then the second volume, I liked all three volumes. The second volume was it's a little lower than the other two. Just because again it was more predictable. I didn't like the villain as much as I did for volume 1 and 3. But it does have its good aspects too, which I will talk about in a second. But yeah, characters very strong in Slayers. The other aspect I really love are the fight scenes. I think the fight scenes are so cool, man. It's some of my favorite in literature. Granted, again, I have a very small pool um, of books I read, but I love it. I love it. It's highly detailed, which some people like, some people don't. I prefer it more highly detailed just so I can vividly imagine it, but I know some people like it less detailed just so they can like fill in the gaps themselves. I love the detail. I think they do it really well. I love the magic system. It's a soft magic system. A lot of modern day fantasy uses hard magic systems where there's a lot of rules in place. Something like Mistborn, which I love too. I love both, but it is nice to see something soft, which is basically there are no rules. It's just Lena can cast spells. She needs to use a certain incantation to activate and cast it, and spells cost energy. So she can only use a limited amount at a certain time. Just very simple rules. But with her wide variety of spells, it keeps it fun and exciting. I can definitely see like, from a writing standpoint, when you do have magic in the series, I feel like definitely having a mage main character is a lot more interesting, just because you can do a lot more with magic, and the fights are just then teetered with different magic, different. It's fun. It's like a fun explosion of things compared to something more subtle. Like I thought Sword Art Online's fights were actually pretty good too, but I feel like Slayers just blows it out of the water, which again that really drew me into the series after volume 1. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna read a couple of these, man. These are these are pretty good. But that is to say, it's not just magic battles. Despite me being a little down in volume 2, there was actually a really great sword fight between Gowry and another master swordsman that was highly detailed that I haven't seen in the other 2 volumes, and even in volume 4 so far. So I appreciated that. And also volume 2 was a little darker. I think there's some people suffered, I was talking about gore. Some people suffered some pretty horrible deaths in volume 2, so little edgier, which is fun. But yeah, this series is just a blast of energy. It's funny, very fun characters, just main characters just getting into trouble, and then overpowered done right. They're strong, they're interesting, the fights are interesting, but it keeps it grounded, it keeps them struggling. There's actual stakes compared to like some other light novels, at least from word of mouth from people who told me about them. High energy, high gore. It's just a blast. I really do enjoy Slayers, and I'm glad I just dove into it, because there's no nostalgia for me. I've never watched the Slayers anime at all. It's completely fresh, and it's great. And there's like 1 billion of them. Well, there's like 17 in the main series, though I still think he's writing it. And then there's like a bunch of side stories. But yeah, that's basically it. And that's what I gotta say. I highly recommend Slayers. If you want like a number rating, I think I'll probably put my story graph in the description. I think I gave like volume 1 and 3 and 8, which is great. Like I'm very literal with my rating, so like a 5 is okay and a 6 is good. Well, like some people are more like a 7 is good, but like most things are a 7. Like they kind of inflate it. I'm very literal though. Like a 6 is good, an 8 is like amazing, and I gave Volume 2 a 7.5 just because it had a little more lows for me, but it was still great. It was still like comparably to basically all the other light novels I've read. It's still amazing. And yeah, I just wanted to spiel about it. You know, if you've read Slayers, or if I haven't covered something that you want me to cover from these volumes, feel free to leave a comment below. And yeah, just let me know. I don't know. This is completely new to me, doing this sort of YouTube thing. I just wanted to try it out for fun. Like I do have some friends who I can talk to books about, but not a lot, especially for like light novel stuff like this. So I just thought it would be fun. You know, fuck it, do it. What's the harm gonna be, right? Yeah, and yeah, I will continue posting these casual sort of reviews, both for light novels and just normal novels. But again, I'm pretty close. I think I have like a chapter and a bit left of volume 4, so that'll probably be soon after this. But yeah, that was fun. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this, feel free to like and or subscribe to see any future videos. Would appreciate it. But either way, thanks for taking 22 minutes of your time to check this out. I appreciate it. But yeah, Slayer's Rule, definitely recommend. I give it my seal of approval, and I'm sure the other. I mean, I hope that if the rest of the series just like maintains this level of quality between the three, like just add, like, you know, it can be better. Obviously, being better would be great, but even if it's like a little worse, it's still gonna be a great series, just because the bar is set so high. So hopefully, as I continue down the Slayers rabbit hole, it continues to impress. But yeah, I'm out. Thanks for watching. Again, bye.